talking to educators about their concerns and discussing coping strategies that can be implemented as they return back to school in the pandemic. You don't want to miss this. This conversation is about to be great. Like, tag, and share so we can expand this conversation and see our city changed. Joining me this evening to discuss, we've about the students and the concerns of the parents, but to focus on the educators, the teachers' concerns about, have an open discussion about it, and I talk about some things, talk about some things, some ways to cope, and some preparation techniques that can help each of transition into the classroom. This can go online because when school shut down several months ago, you all immediately had to go into virtual without any type of plan and of action. It was just immediately the students was going to virtual, and it still had to go. You all still had to continue on learning, and then the balance that wasn't taking attention into how you all would cope or have to adjust. And so I want to take this few minutes that we're going to talk about today to discuss how you all as educators are having to transition in the effect and the impact that it has had on you all, dealing with it in your personal life and as well as your professional life. So this is just, just like I said, it's a general open discussion, and we'll just start off with how do you feel now with, even though there was a threat of not returning back to school several months ago, but a hope, we were optimistic that the virus would be more controllable and that there will be a cure and a vaccine rather, and that we wouldn't be in the situation as deciding, should we go back to have face-to-face, should we do virtual, and so forth. So if I could just, we can just have it, like I said, it's going to be an open discussion, it's not a question answer, but just to talk about where are you all now, how are you feeling on returning back to school, going back to this classroom face-to-face.
Well, I guess I'll start. I guess for me, it's just been a whole lot of different types of emotions. Thinking about so much, and my school system just got the notice about 2 days ago that we are to return remote. So I know a lot of people may think that's an easy decision for the teachers, but it really isn't, because we all know that face-to-face is the best way. We all have to think about our students, and when we begin the school years, all teachers, we begin trying to just develop a relationship with our students, and thinking of that, doing that on Zoom or virtually is going to be, that's going to be a challenge for us all. And I know for me in March, even though it wasn't a requirement for the students, a lot of my students didn't log on. So I'm concerned about just not being able to reach them. And it was also different because those students I had known, and we were kind of close, had a family relationship. So these would be that I don't know. So it's going to be a challenge for me to make a connection with them. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. At the same time, I've been doing a lot of training. I know people think that teachers have the summers off, but we're typically going through professional development. So I really feel like this summer has been the most intense because I've really been doing training like every day since we got out in March, and just in preparations for remote learning. And it's just so much thinking about my children, because I don't want to send mine back to school. So I have to worry about what I'm going to do to teach them, because I have to go back into the classroom, even though it's remote. I'm also thinking about what will happen when I go into the school, because all teachers aren't like me. Some are really, getting out and not being safe. So I'm thinking about, the disease and all of those.
Those are valid concerns. Those are definitely valid concerns, and we have to be open-minded about those concerns. So as you say, your school, the district made a decision, what have they done, or what are they doing, or do you know if they're doing anything to help teachers transition or cope with?
They've been offering training required to do anything during the summer. So they've been offering it just on a, you would have to just enroll in it yourself. They can't make anything mandatory during the summer. So most of us have been taking it ourselves to register different trainings, different programs. And I think the entire state of Alabama is doing a new program now. So a lot of teachers are struggling to try to do their own. before the district to the teaching, you know, just so we won't be at the last minute just stressed out. But I guess they're doing as best they could. I don't know.
Well, I'll go next. My school system has made the decision to carry on as normal, and we're going back our normal starting date face-to-face. Parents were given the option to either send their kids back to a traditional school or keep them home and partake in the remote learning that the entire state has been offered. I have no idea what the number of my class size will look like. So even though as a teacher, yes, face-to-face is the best way to learn, you know, I have a lot of coworkers who have health issues, who are older, who have husbands that are immunocompromised, who have kids that are immunocompromised. So there's a lot of worry, you know, health related and what could actually happen. You know, and you can spend 30 seconds Googling and you can find scientific reviews that say kids aren't affected by COVID, and then another 30 seconds and you can find the articles that say kids are. You know, so I kind of feel like we're guinea pigs and a big peak coming up. It's going to look a lot different. I teach science and my class is very hands-on. It's a lot of group work. It's a lot of labs. And I don't really feel comfortable doing that this year. And so that's going to change. And then there's also the unknown as to if I get sick, you know, that's 14 days at home. And so then there's the idea of, is that 14 days out of my sick bank, or is that 14 days without pay, or how does that work? And then how am I going to find a sub to cover my class for 14 days? And if I get, you know, because some people get COVID and it's, you know, just like a cold, but some people get COVID and, you know, they can't walk up and down stairs without being out of breath. And so I'm worried that if I'm on the, you know, the more severe end, if I did get sick, how am I going to leave material? So in the back of my mind, I'm, you know, knowing that I need to prepare 2 weeks of material in case, worst case scenario, you know, I do get sick and I am out for a while. I have kids, and so that stress is there. My youngest is going back traditional face-to-face because I figured if I'm in the building, I'm just going to bring the germs home to him. So it would just be easier if he was there with me because he's actually at my school. So there's a lot. This summer looks a lot different than most summers do. And like Karita, I'm starting my 3rd week of training next week, I guess, from just different things I've been doing all summer long. Some have been, you know, through school, but a lot of it's on my own type deal, things I found online. And so lots of unknowns, lots of things that are out of our control. You know, it's nobody really bothered to ask the teachers what they thought about how we should proceed with the school year. Surveys were sent out to parents, and you know, and nobody really a whole lot of surveys to teachers to ask them what their feelings were about coming back into the building. So.
I want to ask a question. When you say you all are training, what is that training looks like? Is it developmental training? Is it training teaching you, you know, COVID, how to social distance, the best way to keep safe?
No, so my training is science specific. There's a group called Project Lead the Way, and I've been training for something called Medical Detectives. It's a new class that I'll teach, and so nothing I've done is COVID or COVID safety. Now, I do have a couple of friends in elementary that had some camps this summer, and before they were given the go-ahead with their reading camps, they did go through a safety training that kind of talked about how to clean and what to clean, and so they did a day-long training for that. But so far, I have not had any type of COVID-19 specific training or anything like that. So no.
And neither have I. I haven't even noticed any type of COVID training on the state's list. The training that I've been enrolling in has been technical, learning different technology and different apps to incorporate through remote learning.
And I can say the same thing. I haven't noticed anything that would prepare us for the virus itself and to be proactive. I've not seen anything out there for that yet.
Because it's gonna take a effort, a combination, all of us, a combination of different resources. And when I say all of us, I'm saying the teachers, the school systems, the community, everybody, because this is uncertain. Something that happened, this pandemic is gonna change our lives forever. And even though we slow to move, the action slow, we're action moving slowly. We're putting those things into action very slowly, but we have to be mindful that the kids still need what they need, and then you all have to have what you need to be able to be there. And having in that meaning that you all are to deal with so much and not being not heard. It's like you're told they're telling you what to do, but at the same time, you still have to have that balance. And I hear Ms. Weaver and Sullivan talk about their kids too. It's kind of like you having to just make a decision. You're stressful about what to do with your kids, as well as you're stressful about having to go back to work and deal with that. And I think it can start with one of the things most definitely is starting with knowing the signs. And you're going to have to make sure that the kids are learning in a safe environment. And you can kind of detect that a whole lot more than that challenge as well, because I know from doing telehealth with clients, it's very difficult sometimes when they're running around, they got the phone, they're going to take, the computer to mom and so forth. So with all that, I just wanted to ask you all too, if you are having a balance, not having a balance, what are some things that you do to maintain a balance? And that's keeping you all strong emotionally.
I think some of the things that I've done, initially, it was exceptionally stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to have the balance of pulling back when rest got a little unbearable from my perspective. Just doing little simple things like going for a walk, breathing techniques, going for a walk with a partner that will walk in social distancing in the community. I'm on one side of the street and she's on the opposite side of it. So just having an outlet for someone to talk to has been priceless for me also.
Good.
Having friends that are educators, I think that we've bounced things off one another, and that having a support network that you can communicate to, and then you discover that I'm not walking this alone, and then we can problem solve and we can strategize to come up with some techniques just to help one another out too. So for me, having a good support network and getting that extra walking in has been a stress release for myself too. And I think early on too that I needed to shift my mindset. The power of yet guided me through this process, the first part of the pandemic. And the power of yet is this: I can't do this yet. I don't know how to do this yet. It's shifting my mindset to say that, okay, you can't do this yet, but if you keep your focus and if you keep working at it, you bring in that support network that you're going to get through it. So shifting one's mind has been tremendous for me. My quality daily quiet time has been a source of strength for me also. Those are a couple I've done.
Those are awesome. Thanks for sharing. Those are really, really great things. Anybody else?
So I've been doing not just mental health, but like physical health as well. So I've like my vitamin intake. Now instead of just there's lots of different things. I've increased my exercise. I've probably got half a dozen meditation apps loaded on my phone that I go through and I listen to the rainwater or the waves or, the birds or whatever. And I try to do that once a day. One thing that did really help was when this started back in March, a group of friends from my school we formed a workout community. And so we had every day set workout times, and we would do a Zoom call, and somebody would lead a workout, or we would find a video on YouTube and somebody would share their screen and we would all do the workout video. Or when somebody went for a walk, we would FaceTime a friend, or you can easily do Zoom or Google Meet from your phone. And so, you know, we would walk and have a conversation with somebody. And so that really got us through. In fact, we just ended our workout group last week. So we continued all through the summer. And so not only were we physically getting better and getting outside and building up our immune system, but you had somebody to talk to who was going through the same things. And we also have a text group, and we text each other videos. And if somebody starts getting too heavy, we're like, okay, you're being a Debbie Downer, find something funny. So we just try to, you know, have a network of friends to keep you uplifted. That tends to help too. And, you know, because since March 13th, a lot of people have been isolated, you know, some more than others, depending on their health. And that's really hard. That's been the biggest part of it, I think.
And for me, I've been trying to do a lot of natural things. Like I never had a green thumb, but I planted some fruits and vegetables outside my home. I've been trying to do little projects around the house that I never got a chance to do, like paint my chairs, different things like that, taking walks, just like they said, and just trying to make sure I take time during each day to just have some peace. And I've also been taking a lot of drives.
Yeah, those are all great things. And it's very important that we maintain emotional and our physical health. So those are great things, and thanks for sharing those. I also want to talk about the contingency plan that the school systems have set in place if you was to have a positive, and this is for face-to-face, if you was to experience a teacher or I'm gonna say staff member or student who have symptoms, is there a contingency plan that they have set in place with? Will they shut the school down, or?
So right now, and this is a big area of the unknown. We haven't been shared with directly from administration. So what I've seen is what's gone out to, you know, the general public. So a lot of reporting is going to be left up to the Jefferson County Health Department. And of course, if you're in a school that is face-to-face and you do have someone who tests positive, you are dependent upon the parent to let the school know. Because with all of the ruling, I can't pick up a phone and call a parent and say, hey, your kid was out today, why? I can't do that. They don't have to tell me. And so they could say anything, because nobody wants to be the parent that shut down school for 2 weeks. And so now obviously if it's a teacher that tests positive, well, I teach middle school. That means I came into contact with about 130 kids in my classroom alone, not to mention hallway, lunchroom, where else I might have passed students. And so, yeah, if teachers get sick, we will definitely be reporting it. Now, what happens from there? I don't know. I don't know if it'll be handled like the lice, where you just get a general letter that says, hey, lice has been found in a student in, you know, your child's class, just letting you know. And it's just an informative letter, because they never tell you, you know, obviously they can't tell you who. But yeah, I don't really know. Sorry.
Yeah. And I know in my building personally that there is a task that is working out some of the details along with department guidelines and the CDC guidelines. So they're working on it. It just has not been and rolled out to the entire staff yet.
Okay, so that's something that's uncertain as well. So have you learned to just focus on what you can control, and those things that you can't control just allow them to take place?
Even like for for my team of science, because we all plan together and we meet and we talk. We've even held off on our planning, just because realize now, because we don't know what that is going to look like until we get a little bit more direction. Size of class, if there are any stipulations about whether or not we can do labs, or even what type of equipment, if any, we might have in our classrooms. We started talking about it, and we all just kind of got stressed. We're like, you know what? There's nothing we can do about it right now. We either have to remake all of our lessons or we don't. And, we just do what we always do. So we decided to just push it to the side and enjoy our last couple of weeks and try to eliminate some stress. And that was a big stressor right there. So like I said, we shelved it for a while. And because then there's also the thought, well, you don't want to plan too far ahead, because we normally plan a semester out. Well, if you plan too far ahead and we do end up shutting down because of positive test cases, well, we just have to revamp every single thing we just planned, because we have to remake it for online. So yeah, like I said, we're just trying to get through the last couple of weeks of summer and actually enjoy it.
And I think as far as that same question, that I've been of the mindset for a while now that my planning was going to be remote. Even if I'm face to face, I'm planning to structure it like remote, because we could be leaving the building at any moment. Right. And even for my science lab, I'm a science instructor too in elementary, that my mindset has been even to have little science kits back so that my students can take things home that they can still do. So my mindset from the beginning has been, even if you're face-to-face, you can't conduct yourself like you're face-to-face, but I needed to prepare my students to get ready to go remotely also. So, and it just so happened that our district have decided to allow us to go remotely for the first 9 months.
Yeah, and I've also been focused on what I can control, because just as they stated, there's so much uncertainty, and I don't even know what my schedule is going to look like. I have no idea. So, I don't want to focus on planning a lot either. I've just been, since I can control myself and my knowledge, I've just been focusing on learning about, because I know a lot of students have a hard time with it, and parents. So I've been just focusing on controlling me and my knowledge.
So have you had any contact with any parents throughout the summer?
I've been in dialogue with several of my parents since the summer. We've gotten out for 2 years on a couple of occasions, because I've did a little mini program with some of my students over the summer too. So I was in dialogue with my parents.
I live in the district where I teach, so I already know a lot of my parents, their friends, their neighbors, and as things have been released, I've had a lot of, oh, hey, what do you think about this, or could you explain this a little more, that kind of thing. I do kind of I stay off of social media, because there are a lot of group pages that as a parent I want to comment, but as a teacher I know that I can't, because I could put my job in jeopardy. I don't look at it as, oh, that's what Pam Weaver, my neighbor and friend, said. They're going to look at it as, that's what Pam Weaver, the teacher in our system, said. And so I see the end of communication a lot of times on Facebook. I just keep it to myself and move on. I just scroll on by.
Yeah, I've been in constant contact with a lot of my parents as well. We don't really discuss situation, but I'm friends with a lot of them on social, in favor of the remote learning, but typically talk about that.
So with the remote learning, you prefer to do the remote learning?
Yes, at this stage of in this space that we're in right now.
I only prefer it due to safety. I would much rather be going to the classroom.
So what are some of the obvious challenges though of the remote? I'm quite sure though the engaging, because the parents, especially parents who are having to still work daily, and having to discipline their kids, the other obvious challenges of the remote learning? That from a teacher's perspective.
There's so many. It's, you know, you have to think about what your kids have at their house and what materials they might have, and if somebody has a printer or doesn't have a printer, if they have siblings who are also trying to use the internet, and you know, because you have to think about, well, if I send out videos or I send out, you know, different online sites, do they have the bandwidth to be able to download those and view them? I know a lot of stress in the fourth 9 weeks was we use Google Classroom, and Google started doing a lot of updates during that time period. And so I would work really hard on an activity and they would update it Sunday night. And then Monday, when whatever my activities were posted, something they had done in their update would throw off a lot of my links.
Wow.
And so I'm going to have to go back and revamp. So that was, you know, every Monday morning, I just crossed my fingers and said a prayer that whatever update Google did not mess up all of my activities I had posted. But yeah, I mean, and especially with science, keeping the kids engaged and remembering that my work is not the only work they have to do. I know not only from knowing my kids and, you know, and how they did it in the 9 weeks, but having my own son, the way my district did it was we filmed post once a week, and it had to be Monday. And so my son would actually have some anxiety about logging in Monday morning because he had a week's worth of work from every single class. And it was overwhelming for him. And so, and plus, you know, Mondays we started, you know, whatever class meetings he had. So after a week or two of yeah, it was just ugly. We decided, okay, you know what? Monday, we're only going to open science, and you do science on Monday and get it done, and then goodbye to science, and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the week. Tuesday, open math, you know, and he changed the schedule out throughout the week, but we made a schedule for the wall. And so that really helped with his stress and anxiety of feeling overwhelmed by how much work there was. And so he would just work on one thing all day, get it done, you know, leave it, come back to it, leave it, come back to it kind of thing. And that worked a lot. So I shared that with my own students, you know, and I had a lot of kids that was what they did as well, and it seemed to help. But just remembering that, you know, for me, since you know, specialized subject, that they're not just, you know, having to do work for me, and trying not to overdo it and overload it. So
It's good. I think one of the things that I'm thinking about as I'm preparing to go back, that I think Karita has said that just earlier, that I'm getting a new set of students, a set of students that I don't even know. I don't know their parents. I don't know their strengths and weaknesses. We don't have that history, and they don't know my gestures and my looks, and they don't know how I expect for them to persevere. They don't know all of those things yet. So just developing a rapport with them and developing a rapport with my students and their parents I think is one of the challenges that I'm thinking of, is really major that I'm thinking about right now. Not only that, I've changed schools in the midst of a pandemic also. So just that whole dynamic of a new work environment, new parents, new students, it's just a double unknown there. And navigating them through this digital world, that part of that, I think for me is probably what's over, that's at the center of my mind right now.
And I think about remote learning. To me, it forces parents to be a little more responsible, I guess a little more hands-on, because I had to learn myself. One of my children works independently very well. You know, I don't have to worry about her. She loves just getting her assignments, and she'll do them ahead of time. But another one of my daughters, she was a straight A student, but I was too busy doing my teaching. I didn't think I had to force her to do her assignments. And so she literally went from all straight A's until she got an F her last 9-week period. And it was because I wasn't as hands-on. So I think about some of my parents not being as hands-on. I think of some of my students whose parents worked in the medical profession, where the student's mom was going to work every day, so he had to stay with grandmother. And I literally didn't even get to talk to him or see him once because she said the grandmother didn't have internet. And so I'm thinking about that challenge. And our district has opted to purchase devices for our students, but the devices aren't scheduled to get here until the end of August. Well, the process of registering the devices and putting all the apps and things on the devices is going to take a while. So I'm concerned about the first weeks of school, how they're going to look. And I know some of our parents and students will probably get frustrated, and it's going to be a challenge for us getting to know new students by just picking up the phone and, trying to call them and reach out somehow. So that's my biggest concern, or one of my biggest concerns.
And lastly, as an educator, what would be that thing what would be the message that you would want to give an administrator and a parent to help, and a community leader or to help you all in this transition during this pandemic?
I think for me, for my parents, it's what I stated earlier. I want my students and my parents to develop a growth mindset, and that growth mindset is connected back to that power of yet, that we're in a challenging times and that we're all navigating this space that we've never walked before. But if they keep a positive attitude, a positive mindset, that we can get through this together, and giving up is not an option. And to know that to be successful, that we're going to have to work as a team. I think one of the things I would probably say in leadership is that you're not on this journey by yourself, that you have a team of educators and parents, and be willing to listen to their input, be open, because this is challenging for everyone. And for leadership just across the board, not to overwhelm the classroom teachers at this point. We don't need any extra meetings. We don't need any extra this, extra that. Give us option as it relates to professional development, because I think at this point, the majority of us know our strengths and our weaknesses and what we need to dive down into to make us a better educator in this season, in this space right now.
I would say to parents, and this is as a mom, not just as a teacher, but as a mom, but you have to remain positive. Whatever choice you picked, if your district gave you the option, or if not, if you're doing what the district mandates, you need to be positive about that in front of your child, because they listen and they see and they will mimic the attitude that you have. And if you're talking about teachers, or you're talking about how terrible this is or how stupid this is, your kid is not going to have the positive attitude they need going into this, because you have to remember that, they have to be there. They have to sit through these classes if it's online, or they have to come to school and worry about getting sick if that's part of it. So try to stay positive for your children, encourage your children, and ask them how they're doing. We just assume that kids are resilient and they're fine, and they're not even paying attention to all this. But parents really need to have conversations with their children about how their children feel about what's going on. And as a parent, what can I do to help you feel more comfortable and to help you succeed in this next little bit of your life? Because it's definitely, I think, it's going to have a long-term effect, not education-wise, but for these kids being resilient and being able to kind of roll with the punches. For administration, please get in your buildings. You are making all these decisions for hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of your staff. You need to see what those decisions look like. And you're not able to see what they look like sitting in your office or at the board. So go to your schools, go talk to your teachers, go talk to your students, because they're your students too, and ask them, hey, how's it going? How do you feel today? How's learning? Sit in on some Zoom classes. You can contact teachers and get the link just like everybody else. But you need to really know what's going on in your system and in your classrooms and in those Zoom meetings so you can be better prepared to help your stakeholders. Get in the trenches, see what's going on, and know that, it's not cut and dry. Your teachers are parents too, and we had tough decisions to make. And if you tell us to go back in the classroom, well, we'll be back in the classroom. If you tell us to go virtual, well, we'll go virtual. And whatever you tell us, we're teachers, so we will make the best of it, and we will make it as successful as we possibly can, because that's what we do. Whether it means money out of our own pocket, buying our own hand sanitizer when we go back, whatever it is, that's what makes us teachers. That's just what we do. But please go in and learn your people, learn your staff. The fact that you say we're a team really means to me, that we're a team, and a team means you're in the hallways and you're in the building. And that's from the top down. I feel very strongly about that.
I don't have much to add. I think they both said it so well. The only thing I would say is I completely agree with the administrators being or considering us, because I haven't been contacted at all through the summer as to how I'm feeling or my plans or how each situation would affect me. So I think that just reaching out to the staff, that to me, that's just essential, and that every administrator should be in constant contact with their staff during this time.
Well, I thank each of you for joining this afternoon, because you are essential workers. Our kids are the future, and you are the influencers. And I want to encourage you all to just stay positive, stay persevering and enduring in these hard times, because I know it's a challenge. It's a challenge face-to-face in daily work, and now having to be asked to adjust it majorly is even more of a challenge. So you are appreciated, and we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you all soon. And if you ever need me, y'all just go through Karita. Thanks. Y'all have a great weekend.
Oh, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Join us every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube as we discuss strategies on how to keep hope, joy, and stability in your life. Please share this video. It will help those struggling to maintain hope, joy, and stability in these uncertain times. For any other needs, please feel free to visit us on the web at smith-dudleycounseling.com or call us at 205-972-8327, where we are committed to helping you reach your full potential in life.